you want to go first, then we'll come to you.
Okay. I wanted to ask this question anyway, and then a brief discussion I had with Tim over there before you came in.
Is that you, sir?
Really?
Yes.
Yeah, really.
Tim, I noticed, are you a Vietnam veteran, or were you?
No.
Like you said,
Iraq.
Afghanistan and Iraq.
Oh, Afghanistan and Iraq.
Yeah.
Thank you for your service to this country. And
So the question I wanted to ask is, in terms of your foreign policy, what are the primary lessons you take away from the experiences in Iraq and Afghanistan that Tim participated in?
So, Tim, I want to say before I answer this question, I respect the people who did serve in Iraq and Afghanistan and who have served this country anywhere, putting their life on the line, at least the possibility of it, to serve this country, doing what they're doing for their part in this country. But this doesn't take away from that even a little bit when I say this, actually. I think it respects it when I say this. It's how I mean it, at least. Our military establishment, starting at the Pentagon and the policymakers and the failed commanders-in-chief, have risked our sons and daughters' lives to fight wars that did not advance the American interest. 20 years later, the Taliban is still in charge. 20 years later, Iraq is still a failed state, arguably worse than when we showed up. And that mistake falls at the feet of the bipartisan establishment, and I believe a military-industrial complex that is fundamentally corrupt. So what are the lessons we've learned? I'll tell you what the lessons are. First is the moral duty of the U.S. president is to the citizens of this nation, not another one, period. America first does not come with an asterisk. That's lesson number one. Lesson number two is corrupt politicians killed millions, spent trillions, and made billions for themselves in those wars. That corruption has to end. Lloyd Austin, Secretary of Defense, esteemed foreign policy experienced leader in our current government. He's a former Raytheon board member. It's a revolving door. We need to end the revolving door between the military contractors and the highest offices in this land, all the way up to and including the president. We've got military contractors running for U.S. president, for God's sake, in this race for the GOP primary. That's lesson number two. And lesson number three is we need to focus our national defense spending on defending our own homeland, where we are more vulnerable than we have ever been. Call what the southern, you know what's happening at the southern border? It is an invasion. That is the frontier of an invasion into the United States. We need to use our military to defend our borders sooner than using it to defend somebody else's borders halfway around the world. That should be our top priority. We're more vulnerable to cyber attacks. Some topics that they'll say, bore voters. This will bore the voters. Don't talk about this. No, I'm going to talk about it. Super EMP, electromagnetic pulse attacks. Anybody at this table heard of what that might be?
Well, and it can be done without nukes now.
It can be done without nukes now. Thank you for knowing that.
I know a lot more than you think I do.
Oh, I think you probably know quite a bit, actually. But I'm saying that the media doesn't really talk about that. And so most people in this country are taught to become sheep. Lindsey Graham casually musing on Fox News the other day, oh, let's just bomb the hell out of Iran and wipe them off the map. What are you talking about? You don't have Iran? Oh, they don't have the nuclear capabilities to hit us. As you said, sir, you don't need nuclear capabilities to take out the electric grid in this country. And Iran could do that to the United States, and so could North Korea. You know what happens? You have about half the population of this country that could die if they actually take them out.
You don't even need an EMP to shut down this country's internal infrastructure. They have proven that you can hit 4 main stations. There are several main relay stations around the country. You take out any 4 of them, our entire grid's gone.
Oh, and if our grid's gone, you're talking about, I mean, this sounds like, oh, they'll say it's metaphorical stuff, planes falling from the sky. You're talking about all cell phone communication gone, your combustion engine vehicles, every car using a microchip. So anyway, we can go down that road, but my point is, we're as vulnerable as we've ever been. You're right about that. We have 60 Chinese transformers in our electric grid as well. Protect our own homeland. You have people in both parties, the Lindsey Grahams to the Karl Roves to the Dick Cheneys to the Nikki Haley's to the Mike Pences of the world. That's basically the same foreign policy as the Biden administration. They fight over the side issues, but on the core issues, Both parties are actually aligned with a destructive agenda to this country that has left us more vulnerable than we've ever been. That changes on my watch, and it's going to take a leader from the outside. Donald Trump was the closest thing that we had in a long time to that. I respect him for it. What I think about it is he rolled over that log, and we saw what crawled out. But they duped him. They told him you can't fire those civil servants because they have civil service protections. Read the law. Those civil service protections only apply to individual employee firings. They don't apply to mass firings. Mass firings is what I'm bringing to D.C. Mass firings is what I'm bringing to the Pentagon, the top layers of it. Men and women serving in the military, we're not respecting them. We're using them as pawns. We will respect them to say, if you're going to put your life on the line, it's going to at least darn well going to be to protect this country, the citizens of this nation. 40,000 troops stationed in Germany, for what reason? The level of incompetence in that withdrawal was so egregious, right? They did it during fighting season in the summer as opposed to the winter. The Trump plan at least was to do this during the winter. They do it, they literally call it fighting season. And you know this well, in Afghanistan. Why did they leave out of the civilian airport rather than the military airport? Why did they have our military men leave first rather than actually having civilians actually be the last ones who are actually to leave than do it the other way around? So there were so many mistakes made that I don't mean to be cynical, that you look at a government that has lied to us this many times systematically over. I think there's some level of intentionality to how badly this has been done. At first I would say this was incompetence if there was just one or two of these things. But you connect the dots. It's like what you see at the southern border. I've been to the southern border in the last several months. I've been to the northern border too. People wonder, how could we be so incompetent as to allow this invasion at our own southern border by the millions? Can't they just stop them? And I think we're missing the point until we see it's actually intentional. It wasn't incompetence at the southern border, at least. That's not incompetence. You could argue it is intentional competence to achieve a stated policy goal. Actually, if you say this, they accuse you of being a conspiracy theorist. It's how this works. I want to teach you how this game works, actually.
Conspiracy realist.
Conspiracy realist. Emergent conspiracy realist. It's just an emergent reality. It's not somebody in the back of some smoke-filled room. It's just a collection of incentives. Listen to what the Democratic Party was saying 10 years ago. They said they want to change the population of this country in a way that ensures lasting electoral majorities. That's what they said. Biden was saying it with Mayorkas at his side. They've been doing exactly what ensures that. Now, if somebody says that that's what they're doing intentionally, you become a conspiracy theorist. I don't know if you guys saw, CNN hosted a town hall that I did in Grandview College here in Iowa. They cut it off 5 minutes early because I'm saying some of these things are just basic facts. They can't tolerate their audiences listening to this, but that's what it's going to take, is a leader who trusts the people with the truth. We have a government that has systematically, you asked me about lessons learned, that's one more. A government that owes its people the truth. We've made a mistake, fine, own it. I think we deserve leaders who say, all right, I'm not going to sweep it under the rug. We deserve a media, but I can't control that, but I can control how the government does this, to say, here's the truth of what happened. We were wrong, we screwed it up. Here's what we learned, and here's why it'll never happen again. When's the last time you heard that from a leader in this country?